what is importing and exporting. We will learn the three main objectives about importing and exporting. The three main objectives are understand what importing and exporting are, learn why companies export, explain the main contractual and investment entry modes. First, let we know what is meant by exporting and importing. The history of importing and exporting dates back to the Roman Empire when European and Asian traders imported and exported goods across the wastelands of Eurasia. Trading along the Silk Road floor reached during the 13th and 14th centuries. Caravans laden with imports from China and India came over the desert to Constantinople and Alexandria. From the Italian ships transported the goods to European ports. For centuries, importing and exporting has often involved intermediaries, due in part to the long distance traveled and different native language spoken. The spice trade of the 1400s was no exception. Spices were very much in demand because Europeans had no refrigeration, which meant they had to preserve meat using large amounts of salt or risk eating half rotten flesh. Spices discussed and otherwise poor flavor of the meat. Europeans also used spices were difficult to attain because they grew in jungles half a world away from Europe. The overland journey to the spice-rich lands was arduous and involved many middlemen along the way. Each middleman charged a fee and thus raised the price of the spice at each point. By the end of the journey, the price of the spice was inflated 1000%. Exporting is defined as the sale of product and services in foreign countries that are sourced or made in home country. Importing is the flip side of exporting. Importing refers to buying goods and services from foreign sources and bringing them back into the home country. Importing is also known as global sourcing. An entrepreneur's important success story. Salina Kiev started her wine importing company, Heritage Link Brands, in 2005. Importing wine isn't new, but coffee did it without waste. She focused on improving wine produced by Black South Africans. Kiev got the idea after attending a wine festival in Sweden, where she saw more than 500 wines from 86 producers showcased. Kiev did some market research and learned the 3 billion wine industry in Africa. She also saw a gap in exciting market related to wine produced of indigenous African winters and decided to fill it. She started her company with 70,000 financed through her savings and credit cards. In the first year, sales were only 1 lakh, but they jumped to 1 million in the second year when coffee sold to more than 1,000 restaurants, retailers, and grocery stores. Even better, American African Airlines began carrying coffee's imported wines on flights, thus providing a steady flow of business amid a more uncertain restaurant market. Coffee has attributed her success to passion as well as to passion for meeting multiple regulations required when running an important business. Exporting is an effective entry strategy for companies that are just beginning to enter new foreign market. It's a low cost, low risk obtain compared to the other strategies. The same reason make exporting a good strategy for small and mid-sized companies that can't or won't make significant financial investment in the international market. Why do companies export? Companies export because it's easiest way to participate in global trade. It's a less costly investment than the other entry strategies, and it's much easier to simplify, stop exporting than it's to extricate oneself from the other country moves. An export partner in the form of either distributor or an management company can facilitate this process. An export management company (EMC) is an independent company that performs the duties that a firm's own export department would execute. The AMC handles the necessary documentation, find buyers for the export, and takes title of the goods for direct export. In return, the AMC charges a fee or commission for its services because an EMC performs all the functions that a firm's export department would. The firm doesn't have to develop these internal capabilities. Most of all, exporting gives company give a quick access to new markets. Benefits of exporting. Market. The company has access to a new market which has brought added revenues, money. Not only has Witrack earned more revenue, but it also gained access to foreign currency, which benefits companies located in certain regions of the world, such as Vitrak's home country of Egypt. Manufacturing. The cost of manufacture a given unit decreased because Vitrak has been able to manufacture at higher volumes and buy source materials in higher volumes, thus benefiting from volume of discounts. Risk of exporting. There are risks in relying on the export option. If you merely export to a country, the distributor or buyer might switch to or at least threaten to switch to a cheaper supplier in order to get better price. Or someone might start making the product locally and take the market from you. Also, local buyers sometimes believe that a company which only exports to them isn't very committed to providing long-term service and support once the sale is complete. Thus, they may prefer to buy from some who's producing directly within the country. At this point, many companies begin to reconsider having a local presence, which moves them toward one of the other entry options. Different countries, different food, and different rules. Particular product, especially foods, are often subject to laws regarding safety, purity, packaging, labeling, and so on. Companies that want to make products that can be sold in multiple countries must comply with the highest common denominator of all laws of all the target markets. Complying with the highest standard could increase the overall cost of product. As a result, some companies opt to stay out of the markets where compliance with the regulation would be more costly. Is it ethical to be selling product in one country and another country deemed substandard? Specialized entry modes, contractual. Exporting is an easy way to enter international market. In addition to exporting, companies can choose to pursue more specialized modes of entry, namely contractual modes or investment modes. Contractual modes involve the use of contracts rather than investment. Let's look at two main contractual entry modes: licensing and franchising. Licensing is defined as the granting of permission by the licensor to the license to use intellectual property rights, such as trademarks, patents, brand names, or technology, under defined conditions. The possibility of licensing makes for a flatter world because it creates a legal vehicle for taking a product or service delivered in one country and providing a nearly identical version of the product or service in the other country. Under a licensing agreement, the multinational firm grants right on interoperable property to a foreign company for a specified period of time. The licensor is normally paid a loyalty and each unit produced and sold. Although the multinational firm usually has no ownership interest, it often provides ongoing support and advice. Most companies consider market entry options of licensing to be a low risk option because there are typically no upfront investment. Franchising, similar to licensing agreement. Under a franchising agreement, the multiple firm grants right on its intangible property, like technology or a brand name, to a foreign company for a specified period of time and receives a royalty in return. The difference is that franchisor provides a bundle of services and products to the franchise. For example, MC Donald's expands overseas through franchise. Each franchise pays MC Donald's a franchise fee and a percentage of its sale and is required to purchase certain products from the franchisor. In return, franchise gets access to all MC Donald's product systems, services, and management expertise. Specialized entry modes investment. Beyond contractual relationship, firm can also enter a foreign market through one of two investment strategies: a joint venture or a wholly owned subsidiary. Thank you.
Wonderful, Varshini. Superb, superb
Thank you, sir.
performance. Okay.